where best friends and next-door neighbors, Willow and Lillian, spill the tea on murder, mysteries, and other things that go bump in the night. So get your favorite teacup ready, and let's get into it. Welcome to Cruelty Podcast. This is Lillian, and with me is Willow.
Hello.
Hello, stranger.
I know.
Everything's been a wreck.
Yeah, it feels like it's been forever since I've been here.
No, you just had to miss one episode for reasons.
Yeah, but, oh man. Mm-hmm. This whole month felt like it's been like 3 or 4 years. Just
right? I feel like I've been
month.
in a dark hole.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been long.
It's over, though.
Yeah.
This is the last episode before our new theme, correct? So I will announce the new theme for next month.
I know you're excited.
I am. It's Cults, Part 2, Electric Boogaloo. We're going to do Cults again.
Yeah,
I'm very excited.
She's been waiting probably about 1.5 years to do the...
No, like since the last time we did it.
You're
I've been
like
waiting nearly 2 years to do it again.
Mm-hmm.
I just find them fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there's all levels of crime involved.
And it's all weird. It's all like... Each episode is usually very vague, like very vastly different than the last.
I know. It's a lot of variety. It's so interesting. It's from all over the world.
And I can't really fully comprehend cults. I like to...
I'm going to be covering the Twin Flame cult.
Oh, good. Good.
I hate that shit.
I keep seeing the documentary, but I don't want to watch it quite yet, so I'll wait.
I've watched it like 40 times, and it's really good. Yeah. So I'm excited. I hope you guys had a nice holiday.
I didn't have a holiday. It didn't feel it.
I ended up pulling it out of my butt like last minute, and I was able to get everybody a nice little gift. And somebody got me a present for Christmas, a listener, and so thank you. It was so nice. And I ended up taking my kids to a Chinese buffet and buying some art supplies and a new chair. Yeah. So you know what? Remember last year, y'all, I made a proclamation that I wanted the new year to be mid, like just calm and like a nothing year. And it was. But you know what I want for 2024? Good. I want to have a good year for me.
I really want a good year.
We need it.
At least something positive. At least something to look forward to.
Yeah.
It would be comforting.
Yes, I've had enough. Thank you.
Be very
character development. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that the next year is going to be.
Knock on wood before you speak.
No, it's going to be stupid. Yeah. Not for me personally. I live in the middle of nowhere. I'm safe, but I worry about all y'all in cities because I just think the election's going to be a fucking shit show disaster. I don't want no part of it.
Yeah, I really just want to be like a flamingo and put my head in the ground or something.
That's an ostrich. Jesus fucking Christ, y'all. Help me. Hamburger, help me.
I'm so sorry. Is it, can you be dyslexic with animals?
No, that's just dumb. But it's all right. You could be a dummy. I wish look, all I want for Christmas is to be stupid.
I achieved it.
Congratulations. Brain smooth, thoughts slide right off. There they go.
Girl, I'm so tired.
Me too. Hey, wow, what case are we covering today?
I needed to say something stupid and laugh before we get into this because
I know, that's why I did this.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This case, I've actually looked into this case numerous times for other themed months and couldn't stomach it. So, just trigger warning. I'm going to glaze over some of the really gruesome facts, but just know that this is a very rough case. It's up there. I don't know if we've covered anything like this. So,
you did liken it to our narco Satanists case that we covered, and that was rough as fuck.
Yeah, I'm not going to go into detail like I did in that case, because there isn't any details. But just with the scene alone, you can assume a lot of details, and
And this is an active serial killer that is yet to be caught.
Vague. Yeah, we'll get into it. So yeah, at the end we'll kind of see how this fits into this theme, but we don't know who the killer is. That's the point of that is we don't know. We have no idea. But yeah, this is the Ibadan Forest of Horror, a.k.a. the Soka Evil Forest, a.k.a. Nigeria's Death Factory. So trigger warnings for this case are dismemberment, mutilation, human remains, torture, brief mention of sexual assault, and human trafficking. So today's case takes place in Oyo State, Nigeria, located in the far west of the country, kind of close to the Gulf of Guinea. It was colonized for its abundant resources in iron ore, coal, limestone, tin, petroleum, and then eventually natural gas, zinc, and niobium. I thought this was a mineral that you would know because it's very similar to titanium. It's a very strong metal. So extremely abundant resources here in this country. And it's not like, I know that with most Westerners honestly just like, they hear the word Africa and they think it's a country instead of a continent. And most people, especially Westerners, think of Africa as just one big desert.
Boy, that's not Africa, friends.
Not at all.
Like, it got forests.
Yes.
It has grasslands, plains,
it
ocean,
has everything because
like
it's a continent.
Because it's a whole ass huge
continent. So, yeah.
It's close to Europe.
Yes, it is very much. It's right there.
Poop.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah. We don't really talk much about Africa in schools, especially where
the
we
way
come
we
from.
talk about it is if the whole thing is some backwards third world country, and that is not the case. It's very insulting. In fact, third world is calling it that, or even undeveloped. It's not undeveloped.
Not at all.
Some places are. But have y'all been to Missouri? I've driven through parts of Missouri where I'm like, Lord have mercy. I don't even think these folks got running water.
No.
So I think most of the Midwest in the United States is an undeveloped country.
Yeah.
Okay.
1,000%. Yeah. So it's not like desert. It's actually quite similar. Like the terrain there is actually quite similar to what it is here. It's very green. There's rolling hills, like big, like small mountains.
Africa's fucking beautiful, y'all. The cradle of life. That's where we all come from.
Well, yeah. Original man. Yep. But
to send the hate mail.
So specifically here in Nigeria, they have teak forests, which teak is a very sought after tree. Yes, it's usually like, the outdoor furniture is made out of teak, especially because it is water resistant and it's just
a very
really
fragrant
fucking strong
wood as well.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Yeah,
it's
beautiful
gorgeous.
Shit.
Yeah. So lots of teak forests as well as rural areas, farming areas, big cities, everything in between. It is a country, so you're going to expect all of that. But the Soka Forest is a teak forest located on the outskirts of Ibadan City, which is the capital of the Oyo State. It is the third largest city in Nigeria with a population of over 3.5 million people. So this is a very big city.
Bigger than where I'm from.
Bigger than anything I've ever seen. Ever. Well, no, I've gone to Houston.
Houston's pretty big. I don't know what its population is, but I've been to San Francisco, Los Angeles.
Oh yeah, I've been there too.
Yeah.
But I don't know for sure, but I don't think those compare to this. So lots of
Los Angeles do.
Well, yeah. But big city.
Big.
Hustle, bustle, and it's a very culturally diverse city. It was considered a melting pot to a lot of people, lots of different religions, lots of really ancient history here. Now, Nigeria officially wasn't a republic until 1960. Did you know that?
I did.
I had no idea.
Thanks, colonialism.
Yeah. Like, I didn't want to dig too much into the history of Nigeria just because I really wanted to focus on the case, but I did dig around and kind of try to figure this out because, man, that is...
Well, anytime, and people... I don't think a lot of people, and even myself before I started this podcast, understand that it's really important if you're going to cover cases in not the United States to understand the cultural, sociological, economic, all of that stuff of a region, because it affects how crime happens, how crimes are solved.
And your viewpoint of those crimes. You have to understand the people that you're talking about if you're going to talk about them. Yeah, because then you might not get the story right, or then you might misconstrue some things, or
you miss the subtext in a lot of it if you don't.
Absolutely.
And Africa, of course, we're comparing it to the United States because that's what we know because we live here.
Right.
But culturally, it is really different.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Especially with Islam being like the predominant religion in Nigeria, and it's just culturally different. Doesn't mean bad.
Yeah.
Means different. But that's why, like, people say don't get political. I'm sorry, but true crime is in and of itself a political animal.
Especially this case.
Yeah.
This one's... Yeah.
I'm off my soapbox now, though. I sit down.
Oh, no, I appreciate it because not many, like, most of the, like, videos and podcasts that I listen to about this case, some of them really did get into the background and the history and all of this. Maybe not so much on the podcast because it does take up so much time, but they did get to understand it. But those that didn't, you could tell by the way that they told the story that they just didn't understand the cultural significance of some of the things that happened in this case. So I do think that that's obviously very important. I don't want to be ignorant to cultures.
No.
Just because I'm born way over here,
It's nice to learn, isn't it?
Absolutely.
That's how I feel.
Absolutely.
And, another thing that's not taken into account is how cultures handle mental health.
This is a big issue for this case. I'm glad you brought it up.
Because a lot of cultures fucking don't.
Yeah.
In America, I'm looking at you too. I was listening to a podcast about kind of a similar case to Andrea Yates, where the woman was clearly showing signs of postpartum psychosis.
Yeah.
And boy, the hosts were so fucking ignorant. And they're huge. Like, they're hugely popular.
It's heartbreaking.
And they're just like, yeah, she deserves to burn in hell. And I'm like, wow, this is a very sick woman.
Yeah. And how many other women out there, or people out there,
listen to you say shit like that,
that have experienced similar things? And I mean, you can't help psychosis. That's not something you choose to go into.
Of diminished capacity.
Yeah.
If that woman weren't ill,
yeah,
she would not have hurt her babies. And I just think that she did it as punishment enough. And maybe then we should look at the people around her because they weren't of diminished capacity and they should have stepped in. And I'm sorry to get off on a tangent. It just really upsets me when I see things misrepresented. So when we dive into cultures, politics, socioeconomic stuff, and mental health, it's because all of those things affect true crime. And if you don't learn up on it, then you're going to sound like an ignorant piece of shit. Period.
It's true. And it's not like, it's not like we've not fucked up on episodes before.
We have fucked up.
Yeah, absolutely. we're here saying this because we learned.
We're trying to do better every time. And I feel like some podcasts or even TV shows, because like I see it on TV docuseries all the time.
Absolutely. They generalize things like, oh, well, sex workers or,
And they won't even say sex worker. I'll tell you that right now.
I censored myself.
Thank you.
But, like they generalize people so that way they dehumanize them and put them into categories so that way they don't have to understand them.
This is not entertainment. No. I mean, I hope you guys are entertained when we're being funny or cute or whatever. But for the most part, I want us all to sit and think about stuff and just think more deeply about the events that happen in our world.
We can't always just live inside of our tiny little bubble.
That's how we break the cycles of abuse, and that's how this shit doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, and especially things like this, because I know it doesn't just go on in Nigeria. I know it goes on around the world, and I know it's currently going on around the world in many different cultures and in many different cities and towns, like everywhere. And this case in particular, it makes you feel so helpless. Like you can't do anything about it and you just have to let it happen.
And this is to combat it. Like that's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
It's like talking about it.
Being aware of it.
Being aware, opening your mind to other regions, cultures. I just think it's really important as a world community. We're all human beings and we can all learn from each other and learn from our mistakes. And even if it just helps one person listening to help break cycles of abuse, to get them help, to get out of a scary situation, oh my God, that's all I want to do. I don't know about you.
Right.
So, yeah, that's why we're political. Sometimes. Sometimes we is.
But yeah, the cultures of this city are, especially for someone like us who have been in such a very small, grown up in a very small area, grown up in a very small town. And
I grew up in a big town, but
yeah, that's true. But like, we don't have multiple cultures. You know what I mean? It's just like
not here.
No, not here. And if you do, it's similar, there's not many.
I feel like when people come to a small town like Eureka Springs, instead of bringing their culture with them, they assimilate to the culture of the town.
Yes.
That's how I feel.
Yes.
That don't mean I'm criticizing it. I
Absolutely.
don't think it's bad. I actually think it's pretty cute. But like from somewhere like Tulsa, you are surrounded by different cultures every single day. And I think it's good for people.
It's beautiful. No, it's beautiful.
I like it.
I think it's gorgeous. This city in particular, I thought it was really interesting that there were hundreds of different religions that were openly celebrated, and different types of temples all over the city. They speak, like, Nigeria itself has over 525 native languages.
Wow, I did not know that. It's really cool.
Just that country alone, 525 native languages.
We all gonna learn today.
Like, I just couldn't really grasp that fact because we're just so gung-ho about only knowing English and maybe some Spanish. Like, the fact that people grow up knowing all of these different
languages,
it's
so cool to me.
It's just so admirable.
And then you become an adult and the owl harasses you and you're saying it wrong. The Duolingo owl.
He's so ashamed of me. I had such a good streak there for a while.
Emails.
Girl, I had to unsubscribe to them emails because I was getting, like, moral dilemmas about it. Like, girl, how are you gonna listen
this
to
owl gonna put a hit out on me?
Well, I listen to, like, mostly Spanish speaking music and I can only catch words here and there, and so I feel bad. Yeah. But yeah, no, their official languages are English and French.
Oh, dip. That's
so cool. Like, that's what I mean though. Like, all of these, centuries old cultures, all speaking over 500 languages, but yet they still speak commonly English and French.
That's colonialism.
It is colonialism, but I just think, it sucks, but there is so much strength and power in that, like, they can still keep their cultures alive while still
I do think
being
America
able to
struggles
speak
to
worldwide.
find its, like, cultural footing often.
Oh, we don't. We killed the culture here.
We keep trying.
We genocided it.
Yeah.
There's hardly anything left. We pulverized it. The culture of America is stealing other cultures. I'm not going to get on that soapbox either, but I really admire these types of places.
I wish
melting
I were
pots.
I
think they're beautiful.
I think it's
beautiful. If I had the money, I would definitely travel.
I would, if I could go back in time. I would have just traveled.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But whatever.
Okay, we're gonna get into the rougher parts of the case. Not right ahead, but we're gonna get into the Soka Forest.
Okay.
So the Soka Forest, from a bird's eye view, it actually looks like just like a big wooded area in the middle of the city because there's like an interstate. There's the Lagos Ibadan Expressway right there, which is a major highway. It's near like the lower class neighborhoods and the industrial factories. So it's kind of like a wooded area, a forest, but in the middle of like the lower class section of the city. So, like many cities around the world, but especially in Nigeria, Ibadan has a network of scooter and motorcycle taxis, and they're called the Okada riders. Now, this is kind of like, especially for the upper class and the upper echelon, it's kind of a lowbrow way of traveling, but it's cheap and it gets you to and fro fairly quickly. They like to, zip through traffic, weaving through cars. It's usually a very short distance transport, typically just, a few minutes ride up around the block. But all over the city, you have all of these Okada riders going to and fro, giving people rides. And most people refer to them as motorcycle gangs. So like most of the, especially like Western media would refer to them as motorcycle gangs. But honestly, they're just a business. They're just a business that happen to have a community backing. The riders stick together. It's very similar to sex work on the street in that they are accessible to everyone and they have that sort of vulnerability. They also have like local meetups and a system in place to make sure that they can check on each other. They're always making sure that each other is accounted for because crime does happen to them because they are accessible. And a lot of times, like people would hire them for a ride and then not pay, or they would end up getting jumped, or, what have you. And all they had to do was place a phone call and Okada riders would show up and help each other out. So they really do utilize their power in numbers, calling in from, and if something really bad happens, like we'll see later in the case, they'll call Okada riders from other cities. So they have a full-on network of Okada riders. And I do believe that it's very common to, when you move from city to city, you always have a job with your Okada riders. And they experience, the vulnerability, the violence, the poverty, the lack of police priority, just as much as we see in cases with sex workers. So I do like the fact that we kind of get to shed that light on these types of individuals, people that, have to go through these things, because we see, when we think vulnerability on the streets, we think sex workers and sex workers only, and we usually think women or femme-presenting people. But these are mostly men.
Yeah.
And people don't think about their vulnerability at all.
But I can see it. I can see why they'd be vulnerable.
Mm-hmm. Extremely.
Yeah. Extremely.
And they're poor, they're, the lower class. And so this case has a lot to do with classism.
Oh, I figured it
and
would.
It has a lot to do with,
don't they always, though, kind of, if serial killer cases ultimately boil down to a predator amongst a group of vulnerable people who are lower class.
The less than, the invisible victim.
Because nobody give a fuck.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. The othered, the less than. In this city at this time, the Okada riders had been going missing. There had been about 2 or 3 by this point in 2014. And one by one, they had been just going missing, just vanished, as well as some other impoverished people just snatched up off the streets of Ibadan. Kidnappings in the city were very common, especially at this time, but generally they had ransoms attached to them. With extreme poverty comes, extreme measures and lines of work, and this was actually a very common business in Nigeria. Kidnapping was a business at this point. And, there was an average of at least over 100 people per month on average kidnapped for ransom in Nigeria alone. So, that was pretty normal to them, but these were poor people. These were lower class people. These were unhoused people. These were people with...
So they're not getting kidnapped for ransom.
There's no ransom.
No.
There's no ransom. So where are they? They're just vanishing. No accountability there. And police had their hands full. And they definitely didn't prioritize their attention for them. Missing persons reports were going unnoticed and ignored, especially from the lower class citizens. The city, like many others across the globe, was going through a very ominous sort of quote-unquote cleanup, if you will. In 2011, the governor of the Oyo state put forth plans for the quote-unquote urban renewal project. Now, this might... this brought back a lot of memories from that point of time. It just feels like, it's been almost a decade since that point of time. So I kind of forgot that this was a thing, but this was a thing worldwide. These were projects put into place, especially in big cities, that were to quote unquote beautify the city. So he was hoping that the state capital, by beautifying it, by cleaning it up, it would put the city on the map for being a very prosperous and thriving place, which sounds very glamorous and good, but it's essentially making sure that the lower class and the impoverished communities were removed, not renewed. As the slogan would, make you believe. The cleanup was more than just the garbage and the dilapidated buildings. They aimed to remove street vendors, food carts, and the unhoused camps. They were removing people.
Mm-hmm.
So this was, really big in the early 2010s. Especially, I saw it in Houston a lot, but gentrification and urban displacement projects. Governments would build these concrete buildings and tell people that they were creating shelters for the unhoused, but it turned into either internment camps, or in many situations, the buildings would just not get fully built and they would be like dilapidated and like falling in, and people were just forced to either live in squalor or go back to the streets.
And like we see this in this country all the time.
Yes.
So a lot of people are like, well, that's Africa.
Or
that's Nigeria. No.
It's worldwide. It's in every single. It's pretty much in every country on every continent.
Spikes on benches, spikes on ground in front of storefronts.
Any big city. Any big city.
Raiding tent cities outside of it. Like,
taking people to jail or prison for feeding the hungry. Setting up those like food booths for, like feeding the needy. So something that I didn't realize until this case, many U.S. cities across the United States gave homeless people one-way tickets to anywhere they wanted to go.
Yeah.
One way.
Just to get them the fuck out.
Just to get them out of their city.
And now you may say, like, who cares? Or like, why does it matter? Because shit like this, like we're about to talk about.
They named it Project Reconnect, and they touted it as like reconnecting homeless people with their families. But let's just be honest. If they had families to go to, they wouldn't be homeless. Like, I speak as somebody who was homeless without families to run to.
Nobody.
Where are they going to go? They're just going to go to the next city where they know other people who are also in the same position or might have like a flop house.
Or they'll migrate to a more temperate climate area.
Or, where it's safer to be.
It's just shuffling them around.
It is. It's not helping anyone.
No.
It's creating more problems than good. One-way tickets.
Give them a home.
My God.
And give them some money.
That's
it. That's how you fix it.
Oh, girl. It just really makes my blood boil.
Don't get me fucking started.
It just really makes my blood boil. So many people assumed that these people that were going missing were part of one of these programs, or possibly part of maybe they were being taken to a mental health facility. No one could ever imagine what was really happening to them. And they probably would have never known had one Okada rider not been able to sneak his cell phone and call for help in March of 2014. A rider from Ibadan named Kazim. Now, we're going to use the name Kazim for this episode. Most sources name him as Kazim, but Kazim is a very common name. Many other sources also name him as Lanre Sidiku or Abakuda. I've seen Abakuda. I've seen Lanre. But we're going to go with Kazim because that's what most of the news reports name him as. So the last time that Kazim saw his friends and family, or they had spoken to him, he was giving a customer a ride, and one of his cell phones got a call. He has a couple cell phones. A lot of working people have multiple cell phones, but especially him to be able to take multiple calls and various rides. So he had gotten a call on one of his cell phones, but he was taking a customer for a ride, so he didn't want to answer his phone, but his phone kept going off, and this person just kept calling and kept calling and kept calling. So he decided to pull over. He answered the call, and it was an acquaintance of his saying that he needed a ride to the Ibadan Forest, and it was urgent. He needed to get there as soon as possible. So Kazim told the man that he was giving a ride right now in the opposite direction at the moment, but he would pick him up after. So as he's driving to drop off this customer, he sees the man in question on the side of the road exactly where he said he would be, waiting for him. They wave at each other. The man, acknowledges that there's another customer on the back of his motorcycle. They exchange glances. He drops the man off. He circles back around to pick up this man, and Kazim was never seen again. That was it. That's all they knew, is that he had one more customer for the night. He was headed to the Ibadan Forest. He was going to head home afterwards, and he never showed up. Now, that night, whenever he didn't return home, a chain of phone calls went out among his friends and family, his loved ones, but also the Okada riders. And the next day it was on. Everyone was searching for him. The Okada riders began weaving through traffic, going down alleyways, looking everywhere they could think of, searching for Kazim. Then one of Kazim's best friends, a fellow Okada rider, received a phone call. It was Kazim. He told them that he had been kidnapped. He said that he had given the man a ride to the Soka forest, where he was then attacked, blindfolded, and taken somewhere into the forest. He didn't see where he was taken. He didn't see his captors, but he did believe that he was underground at this time, somewhere in the forest. And there were 8 other people with him, held captive.
Oh my God.
So 10 members of the Okada riders created a search party and went out into the Soka forest to search for Kazim. Somewhere along the way, they crossed a bridge over the river, and down in the water, they saw Kazim's motorcycle. So they knew they had to be somewhat close. They ventured into the forest. Surrounding the forest, there were little factories and residential areas. And as they got deeper into the forest, they would see abandoned houses here and there, some abandoned construction and farming equipment, but nothing really suspicious. Until they got further into the forest. Deep into the forest, there was a series of incomplete buildings, mostly made out of cinder blocks and concrete with no windows or doors. They were government buildings that were basically given up on mid-build. An abandoned complex. It was very eerie. It was very quiet. And there was a smell. The smell was so foul that the search party had actually smelled it for a while as they were walking through the forest, and they didn't really know what it was, but it did get stronger and stronger as they approached the compound. As they got closer, the eerie silence was broken by distant screams and pleads for water. They could hear people yelling, "Please, we need water. We're so thirsty. Please give us water." But they didn't see anyone. And then gunshots. Bullets pierced through the trees, firing at their direction. They could tell multiple people were shooting at them, so they retreated. They went back through the forest. They went back to their motorcycles, and they went back to their Okada riders, and they got back up. The 10 Okada riders told the others what they had experienced. They talked to them about the gunshots and the cries for help and how Kazim was being held captive with so many others. They had already told police about their missing Okada riders over the past few months, and nothing had been done. They called police and told them about Kazim, that he had been missing. They told them that they had received phone calls from Kazim and that there was other captives and that there was people shooting at them in the forest, but they couldn't rely on the police. They had to act, and they had to act now. So over 100 Okada riders stormed the forest. Banded together, they grabbed pretty much anything that they could. They grabbed so many different types of weapons, just inanimate objects, anything that they could bludgeon with. They grabbed, handguns, swords, knives. They grabbed bats. One guy grabbed this huge set of bolt cutters, which did come in handy later on. Basically anything that they could find. And the gunmen must have seen them coming because they were gone by the time they came back. They saw those 100+ men, burly and equipped with multiple types of weapons, and they fled. Because by the time the Okada riders approached the compound, it was silent again, and no gunshots came for them. They began searching the compound for captives. That's when they got another phone call. It was Kazim. The connection was poor. It was, glitching here and there. But he said that he could hear footsteps. He said that he knew he was underground because he could hear footsteps overhead and people were talking. But then the phone was low battery. It started to beep, and then it went dead. And that was the last time they heard of Kazim.
Damn it.
That was it. They never found him.
Oh my God.
They never fucking found him, dude. Ever.
I got that.
I'm just like, those 8 people and him
are gone for good.
They were trapped underground and nobody found them. That's where they died. That's where they lay. And I don't know if there's other people like that.
I bet there are.
There has to be. So the group searched and searched, but no underground bunker was found. They went back to search all of the other buildings. And what they did find was one of the most horrific scenes that we'll probably ever speak of on this podcast, hopefully. First of all, as they approached the compound, they did notice where the smell was coming from. They noticed skulls every now and then, human skulls just peppered throughout the forest. And the smell, that was the over 50 to 100 decaying and discarded bodies just littered throughout the forest.
My God.
I think it was upwards of over 100. Just in varying states of decay.
You know, I think you mentioned this case to me way back when we started the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
That's how long you've been waiting to do it.
Yes, I'm telling you. They also saw various body parts scattered throughout as well. Hands, feet, limbs, lots of decapitated heads. And it was almost as if, you know, there were more as they got closer to the compound. Now, the bolt cutters came in handy first when they went to open a shipping container. And when they opened it, they saw that it was filled with personal effects.
Clothing and shoes and stuff.
Shoes, clothing, purses, baby toys.
My God.
Yeah. They approached the building that the men were shooting from, and inside they found a room filled with people, chained to the walls. The bolt cutters were then used to set them free. Several of them ran for their lives and were never accounted for. One man was so emaciated that he stumbled out and died right as he was being rescued.
That's so pitiful.
They all looked as though they had varying levels of starvation, abuse, and neglect. They went searching through the other buildings for Kazim and any other victims who may be held captive. Most of the other buildings were vacant, but one they stumbled upon was completely filled with over 50 dead bodies.
My God.
Just stacked on top of each other, just covering the floor, as if it was just a storage unit for trash. As if these people didn't matter. And, you know, Kazim's friends are still searching for him. Like, as there's a search team going through these buildings, there is equally a search team digging and digging and digging, just searching for him. And they kind of have that moment where they step back and they're like, what the fuck did we walk into? Like, right now, the estimated death toll is like, what, like 200 to 300 that they can see? There were people in other buildings that were rescued. And, yeah, still no sign of Kazim. Word had now gotten back to town, and the locals were talking. Some of the people that were rescued and fled went home and were able to speak about their experiences, as well as some of the Okada writers that had been part of the search party. And as the local community found out about the Forest of Horrors, many people, including large groups of families, stormed the scene, both to, you know, as spectators, because they wanted to see what the fuck was happening, but also many of them were groups of people that had missing loved ones that they were searching for. And soon the police did end up showing up. And they did exactly what police do. They fucked everything up. They just fucked it all up. Now, they had not taken any of the phone calls seriously, obviously, but when word got out that the people were found in chains and that many had fled and then that countless were dead, they decided, okay, maybe we'll come check this out. No, those that were able to get out alive but were too weak to flee were sent to hospitals. There was six that were left standing and unable to actually run away. But they had endured so much trauma, so much abuse, and so much malnourishment that they didn't have the physical ability to speak. They lost the physical ability to like really comprehend thoughts and even answer questions. Like their brains had deteriorated from malnourishment.
My God.
And it took a lot of therapy, a lot of like treatments in a hospital to even get to where they could speak again.
They might have a hard time recalling all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, police, when they did come into the Soka Forest, they came with guns drawn.
So it just terrified those people further.
On the search party and on the families grieving and all of that, they came with guns drawn. They gathered up the 6 remaining survivors, they roped off the crime scene, and then they bulldozed it. But
those people, that's not a proper burial for those people.
They bulldozed it.
Fucking disgusting.
You know what they built on top of it? A school.
Fuck off.
A school. Like, I didn't expect to cry. I'm just like, trying not to bawl about this.
It's inhumane.
It is so inhumane. They don't fucking
Didn't
care.
offer him even the dignity.
They don't fucking care.
Clearly.
Yeah. No follow-ups on the IDs that they found. They found piles of IDs. Piles of college IDs. And passports. No follow-ups. No follow-ups on the missing persons and the literal hundreds of remains found on the compound. No follow-ups on those that escaped, nor any of the missing persons reports that could have been linked to the crime scenes. Nothing. Now, the people of Ibadan were outraged, for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
They began to riot, revolting against the government for not protecting the remains of their dead loved ones, and they placed blame on the government officials for the murders.
Yeah.
Police surrounded the compound and opened fire on the crowd. One pregnant woman was shot and killed, and many were injured. Just because they were demanding justice. Now, the governor of the Oyo state ended up addressing this crowd that was rioting, and he tried to tell them that it was a secret site for ritualistic killings that they had no idea of, and they had nothing to do with it.
Oh, okay.
He said, quote, "We were informed that you, the residents, did not know what was happening here. As you did not know, so we too did not know. If you who live in the neighborhood did not know, then how could we who live far away know?"
So they're putting the blame on the community.
No, they're putting the blame on this ghost, this invisible
force. It's kind
force.
of both, though. They're saying, well, like, if you're not talking to police or telling us anything, how can we know anything? I think it was twofold.
Yeah.
To shuffle the blame off onto the community, and then to blame some supernatural fucking force.
Right.
Dumb.
They just don't want the blame on them.
No.
However they can deflect it. But here's the thing. They likely knew. I think we could all gather that.
Duh.
So here's what I have been able to find about the location of the Forest of Horrors. Now, in 1996, a construction company was hired by the state government to turn the nearby river, the river that they found his motorcycle in, into a working canal. Now, that company didn't do a very good job, so they hired another construction company to build this canal. That company didn't do a very good job either. And basically, this was eating into state budget. And so they decided to just abandon the project altogether. That's why they saw abandoned construction equipment and random buildings and stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, yeah, they just basically left the machines where they were. They fired the crew. And they were basically hoping to, regroup later with a more fitting crew to finish the job. But that never really came. So by 1999, the property belonged solely to the state. And between 2005 and 2012, the property was home to a sewage treatment plant, which the state acquired state revenue from. And it was eventually taken down because of the smell. Which I laugh at, not in a joking way at all. It's just been a topic of my personal research of how cities put the really gross factories and the really gross industrial plants that smell
sewage,
bad.
Yeah.
They always put it near lower class.
Of course, because fuck us, right?
Exactly.
We don't deserve to have nice scenery or good air.
Or good water or good air. No. Like, there was one town where, like, it was, like, a bad factory, and they told the children not to play in the grass because the grass was, like, radioactive or some shit. It's like, really, the poor people, their children can't play in grass. But that happens to a rich neighborhood, and I guarantee you it'll be fixed.
Riots.
Exactly. But
we're just supposed to take it because that's what we deserve for being poor, right?
Exactly.
Right? So your babies deserve to be poisoned because you're poor. Okay.
Yeah, that's what they believe.
Cool.
And it's every city. You look at any city.
No, this is all worldwide. This
any
is
city. And that's what it's
like. At some point, we all need to sit down and say enough is enough.
Right.
And turn this shit around.
Right.
Because you know what they need? Our labor, y'all. All of us that work at McDonald's or Walmart, or you work repairing cars, or you do your plumbing and your air conditioning. All of us, they look down their nose at. What if we just pick a week and say, fuck it, we ain't going to work? Mm-hmm. The world would grind to a fucking halt, wouldn't it? I'm just saying. Mm-hmm. Just saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I lost my train of thought. But yeah, so it was a sewage treatment plant, and the governor of the Oyo state, he basically used this time period of it being a sewage treatment plant up until 2012 to say that there was no way that this could be this ongoing, like, slaughterhouse, basically, because the general public, like the locals, believed that this was a killing machine for over a decade at this point. So from 2004 until 2014, at this point, they are saying that it has been a decade of killing. And so the governor is like, no, there's no way it could have been a decade, because it was, a poo factory for, until 2 years ago. He tried to use this to discredit people who knew that there were loved ones going missing for this whole decade, people that were watching their community literally vanish before their eyes for a decade, calls going in every single time for a decade, and nobody would do anything about it. And that's what the locals were uprising about. And the governor was like just pulling at straws, just trying to discredit them. And the sewage treatment plant was then closed down, and the government decided to use that property for the mentally ill. They said that their project was to oversee, quote, the evacuation of lunatics from Ibadan and its environment.
Cool.
And it was run by a consultant named Ibrahim Badamosi. Now, many people around Ibadan reported seeing mentally ill people snatched off the street by people who were claiming to be from, quote, the Ministry of Environment and Habitat. They were later admitted that the people that they snatched off the streets were taken to a compound in the Ibadan Forest near the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. So they basically said, yes, we are snatching people who we deem mentally ill, taking them to a compound in the Ibadan Forest. I
don't even have words for this
But
shit.
the government officially just denied the claims of mistreatment and basically assured the public that they had reunited the mentally ill and unhoused people with their families. They were like, we snatched them off the street, but it was a very nice way of snatching, and we took them back home.
They killed them. That's what I think.
But yeah, they deemed this as a reunification.
Oh, okay.
So here's a little bit of so there's a lot of conspiracy behind this. Obviously, we're talking about it this month. We don't know who was doing the killings. Now, the locals around the Soka Forest who knew about the buildings there assumed that they were government-run mental health facilities and didn't question them whatsoever. Although a few people who lived nearby did report seeing a very nice black car driving down the old dirt road by the old factories twice a day, every day, for years on end.
That's so fucking creepy.
They assumed it was a government official because, it was a luxury vehicle, all black. They arrived at the exact same time and left at the exact same time every single day, only staying for about an hour before leaving. Like clockwork. Which didn't seem weird to anyone at that point until one of the survivors reported that there would be new people delivered to the compound around the same time every single day. New people would arrive. Which would also tie into why the man on the phone with Kazim was in such a hurry, because he had to make the time. Mm-hmm. And it would also make sense as to why so many people were able to run when they were freed. Because if there were people dropped off every single day,
they'd be fresher and have more energy.
Exactly. So you have about a week of people that were able to run. It's just insane. Mm-hmm. So a guard named Abedin Akanmu. Yes, that's what it is. Anyways, he admitted to local news outlets that he was involved in the Forest of Horrors. He said that he was hired by a man named Batamosi, who he suspected did work for the government, to watch over the captives chained to the walls. He said that the people they brought in were dirty looking and that he was made to shave their heads and just watch them. You see, in these types of projects, quote unquote, there are several moving parts. There are several people orchestrating it. It's several people, like, you have this job, you have this job, you have this job.
Yeah, but it's so compartmentalized that one part doesn't know who the other part is.
Exactly. That's why it's kind of iffy on the theme, because it's not necessarily a single serial killer, but it might be.
But it's some serial killer fucking behavior.
It might be. Might be one person at the top. I don't know. So a security guard from a nearby residential area came to the compound to see what all the local fuss was about, because there was whispers, and he did find people in chains in very poor condition, but Batamosi was there. And Batamosi approached him and assured him that everything they were doing was legal, and he provided government documents to back up all of his statements.
Yeah, they killed those people. The government killed those fucking people.
They did.
Yeah, for real.
Most of the survivors of the Soka Forest said that they were kidnapped, grabbed off the street, forced into a car. Some were selling their wares, some were like street vendors. Some were just simply travelers walking down the street. One woman, a woman named Cecilia, said that she was arrested in her front yard in a town 5 hours away.
What the fuck?
She was just standing in her front yard.
That's so scary, dude.
Yes. And she was an older woman. I think she was 60 at the time that she was found. She was literally just about, her grandkids were there. And they said that she was just about to walk to the market and go get some things. She was just standing in her yard when what she assumed were police officers drove up, said that she was being arrested for some crime. She couldn't really tell what she was being arrested for, but she wasn't going to fight the police, so she went.
Right. She assumed, well, I guess I'll get bailed out or whatever.
Yeah. She was like, well, I guess I'll figure this out. So she didn't resist arrest, and she was instead taken to the Soka Forest, where she was one of the longest surviving captives found that day. She had been there since 2008.
Jeez.
She had been there for 6 years at that point.
Oh my God.
So you see, there's different levels of starvation. They allowed some people to...
I guess if whoever they deemed most dangerous or who wouldn't conform or most mentally ill.
I have no idea.
Who knows what their sliding scale was, right?
Right. Survivors later said that they were fed only once a week, and the food was so rotten they couldn't eat it. Water was barely given to them at all, and they just starved, and most of them starved to death. They said that they never actually saw anyone killed, which was really hard for me to comprehend. There's over 300 dead bodies there, and they never saw, at least the ones that were found alive, never actually physically saw someone killed in front of them. The captors, from what they saw, the captors only came into their room to beat them and to give them food. Some accounts said that some of the women captives were sexually assaulted. Other accounts said that none of them were sexually assaulted. One woman did give birth in the compound, and her baby was immediately taken away, and she never saw that baby.
My God.
But yeah, no one ever actually saw anybody murdered, but they did see bodies being carried out every now and then. So that could have been just people dying of starvation.
It could have been murder people killed, captured, and nobody's feeding you.
Still murder, absolutely. But now this case is very heavily centered around superstition, magic, and rituals and the occult. So a lot of sources are going to say that this was ritualistic killings.
Doesn't sound like it.
I'm glad you said that because it doesn't sound like it to me either.
No.
Now, but I do have to give credit to the people that live there that do believe that it's ritualistic because, I mean, they live there. You know what I mean? It's
there's
part of their culture.
There's something to be said for ritualistic starvation and torture.
Well, and the cultural aspects of these rituals. So many people in Nigeria, especially in Nigeria, they believe that these illnesses, actually not just, I see this in a lot of different cultures around the world. They believe that mental illnesses were bad spirits.
Well, hey.
Or demons.
They think that shit now, too. In America.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what conversion camps are,
I see it also in a lot of
fundy shit.
Caribbean cultures and like close practices and stuff like that. Yeah, you see it everywhere. Asian cultures as well, but they really are superstitious in Nigeria about mental illness being curses.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's curses. And so you don't want to be around these people because you may become cursed. You know, that kind of thing. There's superstition.
Well, they've got they think it has like a hitchhiker effect with it. That if you're around it, then it'll happen to you.
Right. It's not necessarily like in other cultures. I think we spoke about it recently where it's believed that, you know, you're born into poverty because you did something really terrible in your past life. It's not like that. It's like they believe that you're cursed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Or bad omens, bad luck, that kind of thing. So local accounts dated back to 2 years prior in 2012. Police were notified when 4 men were found escaping from the river in chains. They said that they were locked away in a treatment center for the mentally ill, but the officials would obviously deny this claim. But the people who reported this to the police, the people who saw these 4 men, you know, very, very emaciated with chains on their wrists, when they saw these men coming from the river and escaping torture, they called police because they were scared. They didn't call police because these people needed help.
No, they called them to take them away.
Exactly. They feared for their own safety. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's a lot of the cultural implications of this case is, you know, you have a lot of that too that you wouldn't know unless you lived there. So shortly after the people were found in the Ibadan Forest, crowds gathered around a man that they saw that they called a ritualist, quote, in disguise as a lunatic. He was arrested by police. Like, these people had gathered around him, not just gathering around him, like a mob ensued. They were beating him because they deemed him like some sort of mystic, like bad.
Magician or something.
like a bad person. Yeah. Now the local news reports, so they were beating them. The police came and got him before the mob could actually do any damage. And the reason why they were beating him, what the local news reports said, was that this man was carrying 25 human tongues on a string. 25 human tongues.
Okay, that's not good.
Police tested those tongues.
Were they human?
It was sausage.
It was sausage?
Mm-hmm.
Ha!
And I give those little glimpses because, I mean, there's countless stories that are very similar to that. Mm-hmm. I give those little glimpses because that is what the locals were living in at the time. And I think a lot of this has to do with the 1999 arrest of a man named Clifford Orji. He was He was somebody very similar to that. He was somebody who, you know, projected that he was like this mystical, like he was like a homeless man that was like filled with like satanic powers or whatever, like, you know, like this like mystical troll under the bridge, right? But really, he wasn't. It was almost like that lunatic disguise. And I use that word because that's what's used in there.
Yes, we would never use the word lunatic to describe someone with mental health issues.
I use it with quotations because that's how they
are saying it.
Okay. How they would speak it, and that's like an official phrase, like it's used in their government legislature and everything like that. So, anyways, what he really was, he wasn't some sort of mentally ill person. He was actually an alleged cannibal and serial killer who was charged with a series of murders, kidnappings, and the sale of human body parts. So we think about like when serial killers are found out and they're arrested, and then like the cultural impact of those serial killers and what that means. It's like for that city or that specific place, you kind of have like this boogeyman. Like you have this like scary monster that you are now scared of. If you found this one, there's probably more out there. And so you know you have something to be scared of. So you're trying to find, there's this theory called the red car theory. And it's almost like, so as if, say I were to tell you I would give you $100 for every red car you saw on the way here. Granted, we're at your house. We didn't drive anywhere, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to remember how many red cars you saw on the way here. But if I were to tell you I'd give you $100 for every red car you saw on the way here before,
I would tell you I saw 50,000 red cars.
Well, no, you would be able to count every red car, right?
Uh-huh.
It's like that. Without knowing the dangers, they wouldn't be looking for it.
Yeah.
But now that they know the dangers, they're looking for it.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the lens that the community has.
Confirmation bias.
Right.
Yes.
So, you know, mentally ill people is possibly synonymous with murderers, with, you know, violent offenders. And I really do think that the government really leaned on this.
Yeah, I agree with
and
that.
Utilized it.
And
utilized the superstitions
to push the
of the local people.
disinformation of superstition.
Exactly.
You know, I hate to say this because it's going to make me sound like a kook. It's exactly how the UFO cover-up has gone in this country, like to the letter.
Huh. That makes sense. I could see that.
What the government will do is deny, and then they'll pick a person, like somebody who's into UFOs, and pick them and give them nothing but disinformation. So this person goes out in the world and says, oh, the government told me that there's lizard aliens drinking baby blood. To discredit it even further, to push disinformation, and to hide the truth continuously. That's how conspiracies of all kinds are made.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, the government killed these fucking people.
Yeah, dude.
Straight up.
Yeah, straight up. Why? I don't know still. I still don't know why. And we're going to talk a little bit more of the local theories and what they think. But, I mean, pretty much everybody across the board believes that.
Yeah.
For sure. So, also, so this happened in 2014. The following year is 2015. That was an election year. Mm-hmm. So there's, you know, a lot of things at stake for the higher up officials. Many people believe that these killings were part of rituals to bring good fortune to the parties running. So these are going to be a lot of like Democratic people, Democratic leaders that would be doing these rituals. This is not uncommon. This is actually very normal, especially for these cultures to do rituals, you know, leading up to elections. Totally normal. There was found in the compound a big table in one of the buildings that was considered a ritualistic table or an altar that had, not this allegedly, because there wasn't any pictures or proof of this, because remember.
They bulldozed it.
Yeah. But allegedly there was a table with like a drip spout. Mm-hmm. To drip out all the blood and everything. So that's basically where they're getting a lot of like, you know, this was definitely a ritualistic killing
but without
facility.
Photographic evidence or, you know.
Right. But here's the thing. With these types of rituals, most of the time, the heads are used.
Yes.
That was the red flag for me.
They weren't using their heads.
They weren't using the heads. The heads were thrown out like garbage. They didn't need the heads.
Yeah.
They didn't need the limbs.
And in these particular cultures, I know
would use them. Would use them.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Especially the heads. So yeah, that's where it's just like, oh, I don't know if these were necessarily solely ritualistic killings. Now, many people suspect that the compound was used for human trafficking, which
That's
is
where I'm
likely.
leaning.
It's likely.
That's where I'm leaning.
Sort of a warehouse for body parts. Some think that the body parts were being sold for ritualistic use, so maybe like a bleed over between the two
Possibly
conspiracies.
I could see that.
Where, you just store them in the human until they're ready to be sold, and then you kill the human and sell off the body parts. A lot of black market body parts are, used in medical practices. We see it all the time.
Yes.
So this is not unlikely,
Seems more reasonable to me.
Right. But yeah, either way, it would make sense that they were harvesting the organs and discarding the remains, especially when you think about like the fact that now we don't know if the 50 or so bodies that were found in that one building alone that were just, dead. We don't know if they were disemboweled or we don't know for sure, but it is likely that was just like the discarded remnants of what they didn't need. And then the organs were sold.
Yeah.
We don't know. But yeah, so we don't know if they were harvesting organs or if these people were just simply being starved. I know that might have something to do with the organ transplant process.
Yeah, kind of a detox.
Like a detox and getting rid of like fatty parts of your body, or I don't know too much.
I don't think you'd starve somebody for some of the organs. You starve somebody, especially the kidneys, will completely shut down.
Exactly.
So I don't think that really puts a nail in the harvesting organs for medical purposes on the black market.
Yeah,
it really does.
Yeah,
because you want to keep the specimen in decent condition. Because there are places like that in China. I mean, they're illegal places.
Yeah.
And they do not. That's not how they do it. They pretty much kill the person right away.
And then you can just put the stuff in the refrigerator.
Because here's the thing: if they're doing it to steal organs and sell them on the black market, you wouldn't keep someone captive a long period of time. You'd just off them right then. And
why would you starve them like that?
You wouldn't. You wouldn't even have a big building facility. You wouldn't need it. This is something else. Yeah, it could be. This is my theory. It could be that they wanted to have this program for mentally ill people to get them off the streets. And maybe they went in with better intentions than how it turned out. But
I don't think there was any good intentions whatsoever. I think this is essentially systemic genocide. I think this is genocide.
Yeah, I agree with you too. I think they're just putting them in there to kill them.
This isn't the only one. No. So in 2019 alone, over 1,000 individuals were freed from several just Islamic centers alone in very similar conditions. When I say that they're not the only ones, like the Ibadan Forest was not, the Soka Forest was not the only.
Oh, this one bothers me so much.
Girl, there's too many to count.
No, I'm
and
just
it's
bothered
worldwide.
because I don't know the reason.
It's worldwide.
Fuck off. I hate this. What does it mean?
So in 2019, 1,000 people were rescued and accounted for, so that you have no idea who wasn't. Now, these institutions were raided, and captives were found in various states of starvation, neglect, and abuse, just like the Soka Forest captives. One particular Islamic center held up to 500 people captive, boasting that they were doing what was necessary to, quote, cleanse them of their, quote, impurities. This is a cultural cleansing. Yeah. This is literally extinguishing the lower class.
Yes, literally.
This is literally just killing people. And killing people for fun through starvation. Like, there's something really sick to this. And it's organized. Yeah. Dude, it's organized. It's organized as fuck.
Because here's the thing, if they're just trying to straight up just kill and disappear people, then there are more efficient ways.
Why aren't they? Yeah, why aren't they just like firing squad and burying them into the ground?
Chambers,
yeah,
you know,
like
what is the starving bit? What is that?
And
what the fuck is that?
And they're centers. They're set up as centers, government-owned centers.
All right, this is fucking with me. It's making me go down weird rabbit holes.
Right? And I'm telling you, it's not just Nigeria. It's not just Africa.
Oh,
It is all over.
All right, y'all. I want to know y'all's opinions.
Right?
I want to know what the listeners think.
It's a dehumanization of class.
Absolutely.
It is the upper echelon versus everyone else, and it's a tale as old as fucking time.
Is.
It's creating the others. You know, there's the people that run it, and there's the people that work for you. That's it. Like,
it's gross.
It's disgusting. It's dehumanizing. And the fact that this is a silent genocide. This is a silent genocide, and it's not based on race. It's not based on anything but class. And which obviously in the United States is, yeah.
We're here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like I said at the beginning, it's something that makes you feel just so helpless. Like, I wish I could do something, but I can't. I'm over here and I'm only this big, you know?
I don't have no money.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, here, y'all. If you're listening, now is the time to hop into Discord. If you aren't on Discord, the link is in our link tree, which will be in the description of this podcast. Come on in and tell us what you think this is all about. Why are they starving them?
What is this?
What is it?
Why is it government run? What does the government have to gain from starving hundreds of people at a time?
Yeah,
thousands of people. Just starving them.
So hop on Discord and please tell me what you think.
Because, like, if there is, like, magical ties to this, because there is a lot of rituals done, like, throughout their cultures and stuff. And so.
And part of rituals, even in Western esoterica, is cleansing of the body and the spirit via fasting.
Well, and gaining power through
suffering. Yes.
So what is this? Are they like creating like some sort of battery?
Machine, you know what I'm saying?
It's been named a factory. It's been named a body parts factory, a human factory, suffering factory, factory of horror. Like,
so I want you guys to hop on Discord and tell me what you think. Also, if you want to see pictures related to this case, please go to Patreon. All of our pictures are public. You do not have to be a paying member. You can join as a free member or not even join just to look.
I'm the picture master, and I have been slacking because I have not been in the right mental state. But
on this one,
2024 is going to be new for me, and I'm going to be the picture master.
Be a new bitch.
Yeah, girl.
As for the rest of business time, which I snuck in there. Did you see that, y'all? I snuck it on. You didn't even get a transition. That's how smooth I was. I didn't even need to bust out the lube because you was ready, right? I know. Sexy. I'm feeling sexy today. No,
You're
I'm
so
not.
Sexy without the lube.
I'm just bloated. I ate too much Chinese food.
Okay, well, there we go.
Oh, fuck off. Fuck you and fuck off. Anyway.
Oh, speaking of which, y'all should come in. So we did a video chat or a voice chat in Discord.
Yes.
And it was so funny because it was just me and Lillian just being me and Lillian. I didn't realize like how mean we sound to each other, but that's just evil. That's just verbal tickling.
Indeed.
Verbal tickling.
Indeed.
Yep.
Yeah.
We like to talk shit.
We
love each other a lot, though. It's real gross.
But yeah.
But we should. Are we going to do it for New Year's Eve?
Damn right we are. So if you want to like talk to me with your voice and your head, and then I will answer you back.
Yeah.
And get in our Discord.
We can ring in the new year, and then we can hear
from ding.
Then we can hear from people of other time zones.
Ooh.
That'd be fun. Like everybody say Happy New Year's.
Look, and to y'all, if you don't think I'm going to be zooted out of my own mind, it'll be very
I figure
fun.
Everybody would be.
Yeah, and I mean drunk too, not just the marijuana.
She never drinks, but it'll be cute.
Oh no, I get a little bubbly. I get some champagne, some Moscato up in here. Because I'm a bitch. I can't drink wine. I'll throw up. But if it's sweet and bubbly, I can do it. And we will get zooted. We will talk on the Discord. We will have a fun time.
It's so much fun. I didn't know how to do it. It took me like 14 years to figure it out.
I was being so mean to Willow because I was like, what are you, 85? Leave me the fuck alone.
I really couldn't figure it out. But I did. And so if you need any help, just ask me because I
did it all wrong first. Yes. Yeah, if you do need help, just if you have a teenager, ask them. If you don't, message me or Willow, and we will tell you how to do it.
It's like back in the 90s when you would like conference call your friends.
Yes.
And, like, get everybody on the same line. We would do that and call a boy and act like only one of us was talking and the rest of us would listen. So gay.
Oh, that is really stupid. I didn't use it for those purposes.
But that's what we're going to do for New Year's.
It was weird. Okay. Yeah. But that's what we're going to do for New Year's. And you can come, and I'm even weirder on Discord.
She's unhinged.
Always. Yep. Because you want to know what my only resolution is for 2024? The only one I have.
Not giving a fuck.
Feral.
Just
become feral woman.
Yeah.
I don't want to ever do anything for anybody ever again. I just want to be fucking unhinged and goblin mode 24/7. Because I've had enough. I'm pissed off. And I'm also sleepy now. That took it out of me. I'm done.
Yeah.
See, when you get over 40, you get 5 seconds of like, and then all your gumption has faded away. That's all the business time I'm going to do. Fuck it. Oh, join our Patreon because it's rad.
Yeah.
And it helps support this podcast, y'all.
It really does. It's
Without it, we wouldn't be able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay.
We owe everything to our patrons.
Let me give you an example of what I've been doing with our Patreon earnings. Because I don't get them to, like, keep them.
No.
They're in the bank for 2 seconds. I've been taking classes on video editing. I've gotten some video editing software, and we've gotten camera equipment now. That's because video coming. I don't wanna, but I'm
so nervous, y'all.
Look, but at this point, because I've gone feral, I no longer care. If you're like, oh, Lillian, you're ugly, I'd be like, yeah, so, and
I'm usually the one behind the camera, so.
Well, you'll have to get over yourself because we're doing this.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm too unhinged to continue, but I love you all very much.
We love you.
And hey, listen, me and Willow worked very hard, okay? Very hard. Thankless work, even.
This year was hard, but we got through it.
You had your shit.
It was the hardest year of my life, but I got through it.
We got through it,
and honestly, it was in most part to our listeners. And
oh yeah, you guys have really pulled me through some real bad shit.
My God.
All right.
Yep.
Really appreciate it.
So I love y'all, and I'm not gonna cry, but I'll see you in the next year.
Hey!
Happy New Year's. Please be safe, for the love of God.
Ooh,
please be safe.
Better not. Don't make
Stick
me sad.
together. Buddy system.
Don't drive.
Watch out for each other.
Anything.
Keep, if y'all are doing stuff, keep Narcan on you. Keep things that help each other out. Just take care of each other, okay? Love each other.
Don't consent to no search.
Yeah.
Don't you do it.
Yeah. And just watch out for each other. No man left behind, okay?
Not in the year of our Lord.
Do not leave your friend at that club alone.
Nope.
Okay.
But anyway, if all you can do to support this podcast is send me some money on coffee.
Girl,
that would be cool. But if all you could do is listen because it's after Christmas and everyone is broke now.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate you just as much. I don't have favorite children around here.
You're so weird.
I know, I'm fucking weird today. Anyway, goodbye. Us on your social media platform of choice. Linktree/Cruelty has all of the links. Check out our Patreon for exclusive episodes, merch, ad-free episodes, live ghost hunts, and much more. Please be sure to subscribe. New episodes are uploaded weekly. Thank you so much. See you next time. Music and production by Libby.